All right. Well, this is a little strange. I got a sponsorship deal with some company, because when you're an influencer, one of the ways you get money is brands will pay you to feature their products in videos because they think that does anything. So my manager, Eddie, set this up, So I went into his office this morning, and I was kind of in a bad mood because I was like, I don't really have any ideas. Bingus flopping, I kind of took that pretty hard, and it left me feeling very defeated. So I was like, Eddie, I'm sorry. I know that I have to do a video today, but I got nothing, And he said, oh, well, actually, that's perfect because this came in the mail for you, And he said, and I said, what came in the mail? And he said, the thing, remember the sponsorship deal that I set up? And I was like, oh, yeah, because they paid us already, and I spent all the money. Because if I have money, I'm going to spend it. I mean, that's what money's for, right? I mean, So he said, yeah, here it is. And he handed me this thing. And I said, what is it? And he said, I thought you would know. And I said, no, why would I know? You're the guy you've been the liaison. And he said, geez. And he kind of stood there in silence looking at it, And I said, well, did it come with anything? Did it come with any kind of like paper or something? And he said, no, this was all. So he handed me the envelope, and there was a little slip of paper. It was bubble wrap in the envelope, and he handed me a little slip of paper that was this. It was all in Chinese, basically, and it looked like it had been printed on a home printer. And I don't speak Chinese. So he was like, this was all it came with, this little slip of paper in Chinese, And so I tried to enter it into the Google, the Google Glass, Google Lens. This is not an ad for Google Lens, by the way, but where the thing where you take a picture and it translates it for you. And it just kept coming up with like the Pledge of Allegiance, So I said, And I went on to, I forget what, R Chinese, the Reddit. It was a subreddit for like Chinese stuff, And again, let me just clarify, there's nothing wrong with being Chinese. I'm just trying to problem solve here. I'm grateful to the having this opportunity. It's just I'm lacking some information. So I went on r/Chinese. r/Chinese. I'm sorry if you're not an internet dork, you might not know what that is. So it's Reddit, basically. And I took a picture of the this thing and the piece of paper. And I posted it onto r/Chinese. And I said, does anybody know what this says? And I got a message from the moderator that said, your post has been removed because of some, you didn't do some bullshit, So I posted it again, and I tried to follow all the rules, And I was refreshing, wait for somebody to comment. And finally I got to a comment from somebody who was like, basically what they said was, there's lots of different types of Chinese language, There's Mandarin, and then there's Cantonese, right? And then there's different types of Mandarin and different types of Cantonese. So I need a little more information before I can translate this. And I said, he was very snarky about it too. And because he was like, oh, some more information would be nice, And And I said, well, I'm sorry, I don't have any other information. I mean, basically, this is the slip of paper that came in this envelope with this device. And then we kind of got into a little bit of an argument because he responded, again, very snarky. And he said, typical American asks for free translation, and gets upset when it doesn't say, hamburger, I'll have a hamburger. Hamburger supreme, hamburger supremacy. It was something like that, like Americans are fat, basically was the implication. So I was like, look, buddy, you're the one who's lurking on here waiting around for somebody to post something so that you can respond. You've responded within 5 minutes. So I don't understand why you're being snarky towards me when clearly you don't have anything else going on. And I got banned from Our Chinese for being xenophobic or something. They said that I was racist. So that was a dead end. And this whole time I was on my phone, and Eddie was kind of like, I mean, Dan, we kind of got to get moving here because the time's a wasting. I mean, you got a full day. So you got to crank this out. And he said, the video has to be, I said, what can you show me the contract that you signed with these people? Because remember, he worked all this out. This is supposed to be his job. And yet it's making it more confusing for me. So he was supposed to figure all this out. So I said, can you send me the contract or whatever, the agreement that you signed? And he sent me this PDF file is what I said. Which is a computer file. And I opened it up, and that was all in Chinese as well. And I said, so what does this say? And he said, oh, they're all the same. All these agreements are the same. I just put my name in the box. I put your name in the box, So I put that into Google Translate, and I had the same problem because it just was like, the banana goes to Hawaii or something, the bananas, some nonsense it returned back. And so I said, well, I am not posting on Our Chinese again. Because I'm banned. But for a second, I was like, Eddie, can you make an account maybe and try posting on Our Chinese? And then I was like, no, fuck those people. No, I'm sorry. That was the wrong way to say it. I have no problem with the Chinese people at all. They're wonderful people. I mean, they're better than us, honestly, if you think about it, in many ways. I just meant the people on Reddit. The Redditors. But he said, well, the information that I have for you is, you got the deposit. So we can just send the deposit back and forget about it. And I said, no, we can't send the deposit back because I spent it already. It's gone, and I don't have any money. So he said, all right, well then just make the video. All you have to do is, it doesn't have to be rocket science. All you have to do is hold the product up, and it has to be an hour long. And I said, an hour long? Why did you agree to an hour long video? And he said, because they pay per minute length, So if it had been like a 10-second video, you would have got 10 cents. Or whatever the math is, I don't know. So I said, Eddie, how am I supposed to do an hour-long video about an object that I have no clue what it is? And he said, well, you did an hour-long video about a peanut. And I said, I did a 2-hour-long video about a peanut. But I know what a peanut is. A peanut is interesting. My first thought was maybe it was a shoe thing. Or a thing for a shoe. Like a shoe measurer or something, because it kind of looks like a shoe, right? It looks like a, yeah. And then this kind of, if you turn it this direction, it kind of looks like a one of those bottles of water they give you at a fancy restaurant, you know. And it has a hole at the bottom right here, and a screw on the top, and then these two little things that dangle all around. How are we doing on time here? Oh, good, 10 minutes. Okay. Okay. So that's the end of that story, I guess. I mean, I tried to put this into Google, you know, but I had no idea what this is. So Eddie was like, well, you can just hold the thing up and make an hour-long video of silence, but it has to be an hour, and it has to have the product in it. That's the only thing that we agreed to in the contract. And I said, are you sure? Because the contract is all in Chinese. So how do you know what you agreed to? You know, and this is kind of, to be honest with you, I'm just going to have to remember to hold this up every once in a while. This is kind of the thing that I deal with Eddie, where it's like, you know, the whole idea when you pay somebody is it's supposed to make your job easier because they do the work. This is the problem that I have with everybody who I've ever made a mistake of trying to pay to help me, you know. They end up asking me a million questions, bothering me in all hours of the day. You know, what do I do here? What do you want me to do for this? What do you want me to do for this? This, that, this, this, you know. And it ends up, that makes me anxious, because then I got to deal with this person who's asking me a million questions, and it's like, now I'm paying a person now to annoy me. And I've talked about this with Eddie many times. It's just, it ended up being sort of the lesser of two evils that, you know, Eddie asking me a million questions is slightly less annoying than random people asking me a million questions. But even then, it's like, you see now I'm in this situation now where I'm more fucked than I was before. And I wish, to be honest with you, that it's just really, I'll be honest. It wounded me, the whole thing with Bingus, because it was like, and I don't want to talk about it too much because it's going to just make me upset again. But Bingus was supposed to, remember, I didn't think it was a good idea at the beginning. Remember, I posted and I said, because somebody had asked me the interesting question, which was, have you ever done an idea that wasn't good, or have you ever not done something? Have you ever had an idea and then decided not to do it? And I said, yeah, it happens all the time. You know. and I said, well, that could be kind of interesting for people to see the behind the scenes, you know. So I posted a picture of this guy Bingus, who's the character that I made up, thinking I didn't really know what it was. That was the other thing, was it was kind of not a fully formed idea, you know. And so I posted a picture of Bingus, which was, you know, I mean, you've probably all seen it, right? And I said, this was supposed to be Bingus, but it didn't really work out. I just couldn't think of a direction to take it in, you know. And that was that. I was ready for it to be over. But then that post kind of started blowing up, more so than, and I had been trying characters all week. You know, I had tried the red cowboy, which some people told me was culturally insensitive, and I was like, okay, I understand that. You know, I mean, I think intent matters a little bit, but I was like, all right, fine. Then mustard cowboy, you know, mustard cowboy is the next thing that I tried, but nothing. It was like I'm striking out every single time, you know. And after a certain amount of time, I was like, well, Bingus. And did up some makeup in 5 minutes, you know. Because the whole thing with social media is you just got to, oh, sorry, I should hold up the thing again. Sponsored. The whole thing with social media is you just got to kind of keep cranking them out, Don't get too attached. That's always my advice for people when they're trying to make it online. Don't get too attached to any particular idea. Just shoot them out, and then forget about them. And then if one of them blows up, then be happy after, which was advice that I didn't take, But it was mostly the fault of the audience. Honestly, it was. Because I have a feeling that everybody is intentionally toying with me to make me upset. And I don't like that. But Bingus, posted the tweet about Bingus, like, Bingus, here's an idea that didn't really work out. Why is this guy stopped in the middle of the road? Yeah, get fucking lost, pal. I'm on edge. Everything's got me on edge today. I posted the thing with Bingus, and was like, here's an idea that didn't really work out, Bingus, And then all of a sudden I started getting notification after notification, like bing, 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 bing. Bingus was kind of blowing up on Twitter. So I was like, oh shit, maybe this is a good idea. And everybody in the comments was gassing me up like, Bingus is a great idea, Please post Bingus. Bingus would have been your Hawk Tua. So I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Wow, it comes in the most unlikely of places, but hey, I mean, cool. I'll take it, So then I was like, all right, Eddie, let's design a rollout. Let's design a rollout for, it's getting a little hot in here. Let's design a rollout for Bingus, because typically what we'll do with a character, if we think there's really something there, if we think a character's going to work, we'll sort of create a whole, well, I'll do it. Eddie doesn't really do anything, but I'll sort of design a whole plan, which will include short form content, text posts, long form, and that's sort of a rollout strategy. So we did that for Bingus. We had a bunch of stuff. I started getting to work right away because when I thought like this is a good idea, then my brain started kicking into overdrive. So I was making like short form and all this stuff. I was in the car cooking, and a lot of times when I'm in the car and I really get rolling, the windows start fogging up, and that's how I know I'm making magic. When the windows fog up. So the same guy just pulled and stopped in the exact same place. This is freaking me out. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, can I help you?